What would happen if you bought a telescope thinking that the primary mirror was 200 millimeters at f4, only to find out that it was 150 millimeters at f5.3? Would you keep it? No, I think you would be rightly upset and would want a full refund. What's nice about telescope mirrors and lenses is that you can open up your telescope, take a ruler, and measure the aperture directly. But we can't do the same thing with narrowband filters very easily. Or can we? In a previous video, I made my own spectrograph with nothing but a 3D print, diffraction grating, CCTV lens, 2" to 1¼ inch barrel adapter, and the guide camera. But the free software I used wasn't built for measuring narrowband filters in astrophotography, so it was a little bit difficult to measure those things. Well, I've made some software that you can download for free or use in serial to test your own filters. All you need is a spectrograph like the one I made. And if you already have a guide camera, it'll cost less than $100. Welcome to Deep Sky Detail. So first, I want to apologize to my Buy Me a Coffee and YouTube channel members. I have filters that I should have made a video about 2 months ago, but I've run into some difficulties that made me postpone that video. I hope to have it out by the end of this month, but because of the difficulties, I created this piece of software to help me better test the filters. And believe me, you will probably want to use it on your filters to verify what the manufacturers are saying. If you haven't seen my DIY spectrograph video, watch that after this one. It'll give you an idea of what is involved with a DIY spectrograph. It really isn't as difficult as I once thought, and I think you may be surprised at how easy it is. But let me quickly show you how I measure the filters, and then we'll get into the software. I've been using my old guide camera, which is a Malancam Sky Radar. It comes with Malancam Sky, a free program where I can see a live image of the sensor, adjust the exposure time and gain, and take images of the whole sensor at once. I can also do live stacking and take dark frames to do dark frame calibration. Most people will probably be able to do the same thing with SharpCap or similar software. I've got 2 bulbs, a broad spectrum LED bulb and a fluorescent bulb. The fluorescent bulb will be used to calibrate the emission lines. Emission lines of fluorescent bulbs are pretty well documented. I used this Wikipedia Commons page for my reference. With a fluorescent bulb, you'll be able to get all the necessary lines to measure your filters. Before you do that though, take the filter you want to test, put it on your spectrograph, and turn on the broad spectrum LED bulb. You could use any other broad spectrum light bulb too. So an incandescent bulb should work, maybe even a halogen bulb, but what you want is just light and silver wavelengths that are evenly distributed. Now focus the bulb to the filter that you want to test. You can see in the video here that I have a dual narrowband filter on my spectrograph. The blue O3 line is pretty straight and in focus. The red hydrogen alpha line isn't. Because I'm testing O3, this is perfect. If I wanted to test the HA filters, I would first focus on HA and wouldn't worry about the O3 focus. Getting good focus on the correct emission line is very, very important for getting good results. So once you've done that, you can turn off the LED bulb. Wait a few seconds because it will still probably be hot, and replace it with the fluorescent bulb. These bright lines are the peaks in the Wikipedia Commons article. We have 3 purple-blue peaks roughly from 400 to 490 nanometers, several green and yellow peaks from around 540 to 600 nanometers, a very bright orange peak at 611 nanometers, and several weaker peaks going into the infrared. I'm using a relatively cheap diffraction grating, so look at the image and see where the lines are the straightest. My sensor is 960 pixels tall, and I know that in the app I made, it counts 0 as the top pixel. So around 600 to 700 are going to be the best lines in the blue-green part of the spectrum. Save this file as a FITS file. Now put back on the LED bulb and put the filter on that you want to test. It should still be in focus. Save the image as a FITS file And lastly, take an image of the broadband LED light hitting the sensor without any filters on it. This is going to be your reference. If your spectrograph is good enough to measure absolute transmission, then you can find the peak transmission percentage of your filter with this reference. So you should at least have 3 FITS files: the fluorescent bulb calibration, the LED reference, and the actual filter measurement. The software can be downloaded on my Buy Me a Coffee page. I'll link it in the description. It's available as a standalone exe file for Windows or as a serial script, and serial can be run on Linux, Mac, or Windows. So I'll be showing you the standalone file, but the serial file has a bit different interface, but the steps are the same. The software is free, but if you appreciate it, I wouldn't be opposed to a like, subscribe, or even a donation. Hard drive costs are rising, and I'm running out of space to save all the footage from my videos. The first thing you need to do once the app opens is load your calibration file using the Browse button. I saved mine as calibration03. After the file is loaded, you can then click the Load and Extract Spectrum. You'll then see a graph pop up with the peaks shown. Choose the rows of your sensor you want to use. Like I showed before, around 650 is probably pretty good, so the top will be 650 and the bottom row will be 715. You can change how aggressive the program detects the peaks with these 2 sliders here. The lower the window size, the more aggressive the peaks will be. The higher the polynomial order, the more aggressive it will be too. So I changed the window size to 5 and polynomial order to 4 because my data are pretty good. Click Load and Extract Spectrum again if you want to apply the changes. You can see that this peak now is actually 2 peaks, which corresponds with the Wikipedia Commons page. Nice. Then compare the peaks in the graph to the Wikipedia image. You need to choose at least 4 peaks for this to work, but I recommend 6. If you have 6 peaks, the calibration algorithm should be more accurate. So I see peaks of 405, 436, and 487 first. I'll also choose 546.5 and 587.6. So 587.6 is the tallest of these smaller peaks in the middle between 546 and 611. I'll also choose 611 and 631, and this little bump over here, that's 707. We start from left to right and click on the peaks in order that we chose them. You can see down here that currently there are 0 out of 8 peaks assigned. Once I start clicking, it will highlight which peak the app thinks I clicked. And you can move on to the next one. The app is somewhat smart. It will automatically try to find the highest peak to the left of where you just clicked and choose it automatically, but you can click and drag to zoom into the graph if you want. Double click to reset the view, and let me go ahead and click the other peaks. Oops, I must have accidentally clicked twice somewhere, so let me clear the clicks and start again. I'll click Fit Calibration, and it will give me a goodness of fit test on the bottom here. Anything above 0.99 is pretty good. You can see it's 0.9997, so I'm happy with that. We can also see the residuals in this graph underneath. Generally, the closer the dots are to 0, the better. I've gotten a lot better calibration than this, but we can use this as the calibration model will most likely correct for these errors. Now we can scroll down and click the second Browse button to input our LED reference image. Once we've chosen the file, we can load the LED reference image and see the wavelengths of the LED light we used. Now scroll down and click Browse again, this time the third Browse button, under Step 4 to load your filter image. You can load more than one filter image if you'd like. I have 3 03 filters I want to examine. An SV-Bony 5nm, a dual narrowband SV-Bony, and an Optimlong 12nm filter. Oh yeah, this slider here gives us the range of wavelength values for the x-axis on this graph when it initially pops up. So we should be around 500 nanometers for 03. Okay, so I have the range set from 470 to 520. Let me go ahead and click this Browse and choose the files. Once the names pop up for the labels, we can click Load Filters and the filter curves will pop up. Pretty neat, I think. We can see how much wider the 12nm filter is compared to the other filters. The yellow line is the SV 5nm filter. It seems to be right on the 500.703 emission line. That's nice. You can change the x-axis label here. But be forewarned, because we focused and calibrated points around the 500 nanometer line, the model is not accurate at the extreme wavelengths. So over here is the HA emission line for the dual narrowband filter. Because HA wasn't the focal point, it's off. I've done this with HA focus and I get much better results for the dual filter in HA. So make sure that you are in focus on the emission line that you're interested in. Then you can download the curves as a CSV file. Finally, there is a very simple algorithm that examines the full width half maximum and central peak of your filters. It's not perfect. The graph is probably going to give you a better result, but clicking this green button here will give you estimates for each filter. This button down here will overlay the peaks as dots and the full width half maximum as dotted lines on the graph itself. Also nice. So I'm going to repeat this because I think it's important. The extremes of the spectrum will not be accurate if you don't have calibration points there and haven't focused for it. This mess over here would look a lot better if 1, I focused on S2, and 2, I used the 707 emission line when calibrating. I have successfully measured my S2 filters using this method. Okay, so one last thing. You can zoom in on the filter curve if you want to see exactly where the peaks might be. This button here normalizes all of the peaks to have a height of 1, which is nice if your spectrograph is like mine and can't measure absolute transmission very well. When you're done with the app, click Close App. Anyway, that's it for this video. Check out my DIY spectrograph video to learn how to make your own spectrograph for cheap, or this video that the algorithm recommends. Thanks for watching.